message being given and become more about the money than the message, now, okay, you might be making the money, but you're real low on spiritual currency. You're in default, as it were. In today's society, if I cheat you or steal from you, right, that's a crime. But if I did it through business, then it's good business practices.
People cherry pick, certain verses, but don't want to look at other verses. Again, like coupling that with speaking life and not death, right? The same things that you're manifesting in your life, are they bringing life, or cursing people, bringing death upon them? Oh, not wanting them to do good,
Right. But again, all right, let's go to the spiritual realm. We talk about manifestation. They such and such, you're gonna be a millionaire, you're gonna be this and that. Okay, now you're trying to play God as a lot to.
The point was the blood, right? That was the intention, right?
Right.
That you're putting into, and how you can still see the same intention, but in drill music in a different way, and the blood that's still being made currency.
Yeah, made currency.
Yeah,
sacrifice. Yeah, wow, yeah. That was music, not necessarily drill, but kill music, right? Murder music. It's all around us, right? We hype it up. Over sexualized music, right? We hype it up. It's all on airways. They get all on the play, right? And they're profiting off of it. I said to say, these are the principles of God. You're not out here being flashy, bragging on what you got, and God. So if you do, have you studied the word? Have you seen what God said? Oh, God's giving out blessings. You're gonna have to pay $10,000 and get this blessing only in one of you, and God's commanding you to do it now. If you're disobedient, this is God. Oh my God, my skin was crawling, right?
But again, that's where we fall short, even as the community, because that's where we need to stand as the community, and not have these people as our appointed leaders, right? And keeping them and continuing and giving them the money.
Yeah.
It was the journey. It was not the destination. You was in a hurry to get there, to come up, to be this, to be that. It's the journey, not the destination. Because the destination is steadily evolving. We always growing in wisdom and knowledge and understanding.
Hello, everyone. We would like to welcome you to Conversations of the Spirit, Spiritual Matters. It's brought to you by Selah, myself, Rev Sion. What we'll be doing is having various conversations on the multifaceted things of the Spirit, talking about religious traditions, studies, just basically having conversations, right? Multifaceted conversations. And so for this particular episode, we're going to discuss spiritual currency. Okay. And when we talk about spiritual currency, you can just relate, and we're going to get to it and break it down more as we go along. But we're all familiar with currencies. We talk about money, right? Whatever forms it may be, dollars, euros, yens, pesos, what have you, right? But physical currency, what it does, and now translating that into spiritual currency. I think it's going to be a great conversation. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me. Right?
Thank you for being here.
Such a pleasure. So, where should we begin?
As you were saying, like just everyday currency, how we use money and how we use it in our day lives, not just in to buy things. We use it to plan in the future. We use it to help people out when in need, right?
Yep.
So again, applying these same things, but out to spiritual topics that we're all familiar with, but don't necessarily equate the same way.
Yes.
We kind of just say these same terms and everything, but don't necessarily apply it.
Right. Well, while we're on that topic, and then let's take it to a biblical discussion. The passage where Jesus said, where is it located? Matthew 22, Mark 12, and Luke 20, where they was trying to trip Jesus up and asking him, should he pay taxes, right? Mm-hmm. And he famously replied, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think right there, he's making a divide between physical currency and spiritual currency.
Absolutely.
Right. I think he also, because they was trying to trip him up, right? They was trying to make the people, get his followers mad at him if he say, pay taxes, right? Mm-hmm. Because they felt they was being too heavily taxed, right? Mm-hmm. And their goods and things taken from them, and they're paying taxes. We still have those same conversations today, right? Mm-hmm. Taxes. and then or to make the Romans mad by saying no, don't pay taxes, right? To see that as some type of a rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
right? So oh, he's gonna be leading a rebellion anyway, trying to get him out the way.
Mm-hmm.
So he crossed him up. First of all, if you think about it, even though he said whose face is on the coin, and they said Caesar's, right? But what was the coin made of? Silver.
Mm-hmm.
Who made the silver?
Right.
God. So even though Caesar's face is on the coin still came from spiritual currency, the creation, right, of silver by
Mm-hmm.
God. And then also to say that, listen, physical only helps you in the physical.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't help you in the spirit. Now you can combine the two, as you were saying, like, okay, you can have money and use it to help someone, to help
Mm-hmm.
a cause, help a friend, help a family member, or something who is in need physically for that moment to pay rent, even bail, get out of jail,
Yep.
what have you, in a lot of ways, right? So then now, but again, that only helps them physically,
Yep.
right? And even if you help them, my point of thought, someone physically, there's a spiritual lesson tied to it
Mm-hmm.
that should be had, right, around finances, right? Whatever got them, why do they need them, right? The rent, what you didn't pay your rent, right? Or you're not planning to pay your rent, right? And that's tantamount to life,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you don't pay your rent, you're going to be homeless, right? If you don't pay your spiritual rent, you're going to be without spirit, right?
And
You're going to
I
be spiritually homeless. Go ahead.
and I absolutely agree. Going back to what you're saying with Jesus and the taxes, you see the same thing when he goes back in the temple and he flips the
Mm,
tables over because of the same thing, the same spiritual things that they then turn into a physical currency and selling. And
right.
these are not the way of the Father, right? And perverting those things and
Yes.
capitalizing off of
Yes.
it.
Ooh, I like that perversion, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're doing, right? And that was the mixture, right? Because they had to, buy at the time the things for the sacrifices.
Yep.
And if you go back into the Bible, when it talks about God is very direct, very specific on how the sacrifices be. Like if you go to the tabernacle, very direct, make it this long, make it
Mm-hmm.
this high, use these type of nails, right? And so um, they were not adhering to the principles of God for the sacrifices. Here
Absolutely.
you are supposed to be the leaders, and whoa, I just want to take a little detour here. You'll find that in the churches today,
Yep.
and not with sacrifices, but with tithes,
Yep.
right? And then what is the message being given to become more about the money than
Yep.
the message? Now, okay, you might be making the money, but you're real low on spiritual currency.
Mm-hmm.
You're in default, as it
Mm-hmm.
were, right? And so that was the thing, but that Jesus had to remind him, or he was given a reminder, right? That this is not the way of God,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't cheat people,
Mm-hmm.
right? In today's society, if I cheat you or steal from you, right, that's a crime. But if I did it through business, then it's good business practices. So I think right there, we see this physical currency and spiritual currency are at odds one with another.
Mm-hmm. And again, the same thing where you see, again, we're talking about, thinking of, which hopefully we can have a deeper discussion, but I'll just give a little highlight for
Okay.
some of the viewers. But the Malachian ideology that we see today in the economy and all the businesses, the same practices, where
Right.
it's the chokehold on sacrificing your needs and your wants self willingly,
Mm-hmm.
self willingly wanting to sacrifice these things,
Right.
thinking it's benefiting you when it's really not.
Right. It's killing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing quite the opposite, right? And that's the lie that we've been told, right? Through society, through socialization, right? Um, how much are you willing to? And there's a term that uses sociology and psychology, right? The golden handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
So you get into a job, it might pay pretty good, but they study dangling things like retirement over your head, promotions over your head,
Mm-hmm.
right? To get you to do and do more. And even if those things are unjust, right? Or grieving of the spirit, but you got to do that for your job in order to succeed. And you got this chance to get on, so they're really handcuffs,
Mm-hmm.
right? You think, okay, it's a good job, I got this. Now you find yourself in a trap, in a matrix. You got to make a decision.
And again, going to one of the things we have here, when you say, when you, again, even just looking in the words of everything that we base our lives around, currency. What's the current thing that's trending? That's where the
Mm.
money is, right?
Right, right.
Talking about going back to going viral, right? Doing things
Mm.
again just for the sake of it to go viral
Yeah.
and not for the benefiting of the soul. You
Right,
know,
right. Because going viral gonna make you more money on
gonna benefit your
YouTube or
pockets.
right, Instagram Live or whoever the case may be, right? But then again, okay, it's gonna benefit your pocket. But what good does it serve you to have all the riches in the world, right? But no soul,
Spiritually bankrupt.
spiritually bankrupt,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we know so let's discuss what is spiritual currency. Then we talked about physical currency. What's spiritual currency?
Again, going back to the what we had said before, a lot of things, just stem off of just love.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
what you can even use your money in a loving way, but most people don't, not
right.
intentionally.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of times it's more of the, do this for me. Again, more like you said, golden handcuffs, right? Or
Right.
like the carrot with the stick, right?
Right. Right.
Same
Right.
thing.
Yep.
As a way to persuade people to do things rather than, oh, I want to bless you with these things, right?
Right. Yes. And that's true. And I like to think of it too as in things that are not physical,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things such as energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things such as, our time, and that's energy too, right? Our thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our words, our deeds, which are physical, but they come from our thoughts, right? And so say, oh, I'm going to go and help somebody, right? Or I see a person, I see old woman or a woman with kids that struggle, and I go and help them. That's spiritual currency. You're not expecting anything back. You're not expecting anything in return.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving, right? And even in my job, a lot of people say, "Oh man, for all the different work you do, you're underpaid." This, and that. I said, "It's okay, because that's my tithes. That's my spiritual currency.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving out of the heart for the situation, trying to make a betterment. And even though if I'm not physically rewarded, I know that now I'm banking in the spirit, right? I'm putting money in the spiritual bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't view it in a way of like, I'm not trying to buy my way into heaven or buy salvation or nothing like that. I'm doing it because I know it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of the matter is, it feels good,
Mm-hmm.
right? It feels good. And I ain't gonna lie, not gonna lie. I do know that giving it out, the law of attraction, karma, sow and reap principle,
Mm-hmm.
that is going to come back to me. And that's a good thing. And then now, when you do that, now you're operating in the spiritual currency realm
Mm-hmm.
because you have this knowledge and you believe in this knowledge. Some people try to cheat the spiritual currency realm.
I would say, bless so you can be blessed. But again, like you said, there's other people who go as far as, like Kenneth Copeland or something.
Mm-hmm.
And, just saying it so they can get their own.
Right.
I'm not necessarily saying that to expect something in
Right.
return, but how can you expect to be blessed if you're not blessing others?
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And just because you get money, our blessings ain't a blessing.
Right.
Right? And the Bible says every blessing has a curse that rides with it, which side you want to ride on. It can very easily, it can start as a blessing and you turn it to a curse because you lost the intention, right, of righteousness, of doing those things. And now you are expecting, and not only expecting, you're pretty much using the word to bribe people, to threaten people. Oh, I remember, what's his name, way back in the day, climbed up in the tower. God said he's not going to release me from this tower till I raise $30 million to pay out of this and that. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
We can go with, what's his name? Creflo Dollar, right? And go on and, oh, yeah, God, y'all got to donate so much, so much. So I'm telling you, God told me we're going to get this. I'm saying we. But when it comes to the Learjets, I don't see the we. I don't see the church right now. Oh, it's to take my message across the world. We got the internet. We got the whole, you just take your message across. And then he tried to watch some of this back lately with the tithing aspect, and I'm not going to go into all of that. But again, all right, let's go to the spiritual realm where people talk about manifestation. Pay such and such, you're going to be a millionaire, you're going to be this and that. Okay, now you're trying to play God as a lot of ticket. And there is a thing called manifestation, right? But we're now perverting the word. We're perverting the spiritual economy, the spiritual currency, right? Because we're trying to use it for self gain, right? Now, if we know the 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 guideline, the outline, right, for manifestations is the fact that, okay, and it says in the Bible, you say something, speak it into existence. You want it, you speak on it, you speak power. But that's not, you don't speak on it, wait for it to rain out the sky. No, that's not manifestation, right? That is perversion of manifestation. You got to go and put the work in. You go and put the work in because you know that it's coming because you did the thing you're supposed to do. They're good thoughts, number one, right? Number two, you speak of action. Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, right? And then you begin to put the work in to do this or that, whatever this or that may be. And you can still be the beneficiary of it in your life, but that's the purpose. God wants us to benefit.
And that's the thing, though. Like, people cherry pick, certain verses, but don't want to look at other verses. Again, like coupling that with speaking life and not death, right? The same things that you're manifesting in your life, are they bringing life? Or cursing people, bringing death upon them? Oh, not wanting them to do good,
Right.
even just spiritually, physically, even just in life, mentally,
Yeah.
even. Again, that's a real problem with my generation, where everybody wants to poop on the next man rather than lift him up. And
Right.
same thing with going with like music and everything. All the same things that we continue to perpetuate, that we know that's bad for society,
Yes.
like gun violence, single parent homes,
Right.
and all those things. But
Yeah.
we keep doing it rather than shouting out the ones who are parents in their lives, good fathers, doing the right things,
Right.
and showing their kids how to be a man, father, or even mother, even because
Right.
there's a lot of
Yes.
lost daughters out there too.
Yes, most definitely. And that's, ironic that you talked about the music and the things, and because we just said about doing good and intentions, right? So now, like I said, it's a trend. Well, okay, drill music or other music, not necessarily drill, but kill music, right? Murder music is all around us, right? We hype it up. Over sexualized music, right? We hype it up. It's all on airways that get all of the play, right? And they're profiting off of it.
Yep.
Physically. Oh, you talk about podcasts and stuff. You guys, they always want to jump on something that's negative or a negative wave going on, the death on live or something. Hyping up something negative, right? Who's the latest rat? Who this, that, and the third? All just call it content. And because they know that's going to sell, the negativity is going to sell. And so you're going into default spiritually, once again, because when you're engaging in these things, and like I said, we do it as a society, they're being supported by us, right, the consumers. So we're allowing them to profit. We're helping them to profit off of death, off of negativity. And there's a difference between speaking life and death. And so if you're not speaking life, then you're not engaged in spiritual currency.
And again, going even back, all the spiritual, like you were saying, even with going to the tithing, with the everything with the tabernacle, right? That's where tithing comes from.
Right.
But again, just like the purpose of tithing, right? They would give their bread so the priest could eat, right? But then the priest, isn't expecting to have any money because he's only working for the Lord. He's not expecting anything else.
Right.
But that was God's way of saying,
provide.
"I will still, Jehovah Jireh, I will still provide." And again, everything else though, just like how we were saying with the with the sacrifices that were being done, the point was the blood, right? That was the intention, right? That you're putting into, and how you can still see the same intention, but in drill music in a different way, and the blood that's still being made currency.
Made currency.
Made profit off of.
Yeah, wow, yeah, most definitely. And something that you said for a minute. Going back to the tithing thing, to the tabernacle, and God provided, right? God has always made provision. And another thing, a purpose of the tithe, as we progress from the Pentecostal to now to the church, from the tabernacle to now to the churches, right? That the tithe was a privilege, but it's supposed to be for the community. The church supposed to be the place where, hey, when people are starving, the church opens the door, people come and eat, right? Fill up the warehouses, the storehouses, so that my people may eat, my people may have bread, right? Going way back in the days of the law, people had farmers and stuff and were doing well. God has blessed, right? They were supposed to give back. A form of their tithing was when they cut their crops on their fields. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. Then, trying to do what we can see. Then, like this is the field right here. They were not allowed to cut the corners, right? Because those crops were left over for the people who didn't have food. That they may come and they may have been there. They're too now taking part of the blessing, which God has blessed others. If we go back into the times of when they were taken in captivity, a lot of them being taken in captivity because they stopped doing those things, right? They stopped doing that because God said, okay, you're straight from me. And if you look back at the years of captivity, every seventh year they're supposed to allow their field to rest. And so start up money hungry, right? So no, well, we're gonna let it rest for what? We're gonna let it grow. So forget what God said. First of all, he's teaching he's letting it replenish, the soil replenish, and he's burn the fields and ashes and let it sit and re-nurture, and you're gonna have better crops that way. Now you're raping the field, right? And you're overtaking, which is greed, which is a form of excess, which is sin. So there's so many things going on, and they did it for so many years that when God took them into captivity, he made them pay the penalty for every year that they didn't do that. And that equals, if you look at the book of Daniel, Daniel figured it out by numbers. We'll come to that one in another conversation sometime, right? Numbers and realize that, hey, it's time we paid our debt. This is why we did it. This is why we said, oh, it's time to be free. Let's go, y'all. Even though he didn't leave, right? He laid on Ezra. So there's a lot into it, what I'm saying, you know. And now you look at the churches of today with the tithing. It wasn't for you to get new fancy cars and planes. Here's a story. When Whitney Houston died, and they showed her funeral in New Jersey, right? Newark, I believe. And they were showing all the fabulous limousines. So they had a helicopter in the sky, all the fabulous limousines pulling up to the church, this and that. Big old church, right? Big old parking lot. Like, man, that's a nice little church, right? Okay, that church doing pretty well. But as you pan out and you look at the rest of the neighborhood, it was in shambles. That is directly opposed to what God intended tithes and offering. Not that you may have this magnificent, and we'll go into some other time. We'll talk about Isaac, right, and the prophecy that he gave to the king at the time. Was it Hezekiah? I believe it was Hezekiah, and showing the wares and bragging. Oh, it's what we
Isaiah?
got. Isaiah said this, a young Isaiah was saying this to King Hezekiah. Like, oh, you have showed these people, people who Nebuchadnezzar's people and stuff, and probably they will come and talk. They brag, yeah, we got this, we got that. Look at the gold, look at the word. Oh, okay, yeah. They went back to it. They came back and took it. Yep. Right, and I did probably like, what is you doing? Right. Even you go back to the tabernacle, all the gold and things that came out of Egypt were in there. It was magnificently laid. It was magnificently built, but on the outside. It was skins, badger skins, and there's a whole lesson going to that, ram skin, and this and that. But it looked like just another tent out in the wilderness, right? And that's why no one was allowed in, and there's certain things you had to do to come in. I said to say, these are the principles of God. You're not out here being flashy, bragging on what you got, and telling God to. If you do, have you studied the word? Have you seen what God said? And how could this church, in which Whitney Houston was being laid to rest, or having her service to be laid to rest, and the community is suffering? You're supposed to be building the community, healing the people, right? That's the purpose of the tithes coming in to help the people, right? Not that the cat, a preacher may drive a caddy and got on the fly suit and going to the jets and things. And you have a lot of people that come to those churches and mega churches there because they see those things. They are attracted to those things. Now they got the currency and stuff. They're going to church, save for their business and that, but they're being summoned, as it were, by the gold and riches that are being shown, showcased, with the promise that this too may be you. I heard one of them oh, God's giving out blessings. You're going to have to pay $10,000 to get this blessing, only anointed for you, and God is commanding you to do it. Now, if you're disobedient, this is God. Oh, my God. My skin was crawling, right? And then the people will believe it and buy it and pay it.
And going back to what you were saying with, trying to play God like a lottery ticket, again, people aren't looking, they're not saying, oh, I wish God would bless me with 10 grand so I can go give that out to the homeless.
Right.
They want that 10 grand for themselves. Again, the same thing, not they don't want to be blessed so they can bless others. They just
Right.
want to be blessed themselves, and that's it.
Yeah.
And again, just playing him for a lottery ticket, just saying, "Oh, let me get what I can get," and not going to the community.
Right.
And again, that's where we fall short, even as the community, because that's where we need to stand as the community,
Yeah.
and not have these people as our appointed leaders,
Right.
right? And keeping them and continuing and giving them the money.
Yeah. Which is why we do what we do here,
Absolutely.
right? To make that point, this is our offering, right? As a spiritual offering to the people that they may see. Some haven't paid attention. I know you grow up in a thing, and it's always been that way. It's always been that way, right? There's always been those the people who have been called by God to, hey, point these things out, to lead the people, to educate the people, right? You know, just like because you're going to be the beneficiaries. I'm trying to use all these currency terms too, by the way, not by accident. You're going to be the beneficiary by your works, right? By the things you do, by your time, by your attention, right? Right now, okay, this is time and attention we're giving unto spiritual matters, right? We're depositing into the spiritual bank, right? Through knowledge, through things that are everlasting, right? Let's go back for a second and bring back what are the things that are valued physically that I think is going back to the physical currency, right? But are made by God. Such as, I see that you got diamonds. Let's talk about that. Diamonds are value, right? Diamonds are treasure. People want diamonds. Oh, see that diamond ring? See that? Oh, that diamond necklace. Oh, right? Another thing, but we understand the lesson of the diamond. That's why I say I laugh oftentimes when I see things that people go on Google and Gaga over something like diamonds or gold or silver or other gems, right? That was created by God, that they're now lusting after, but don't understand the purpose of it. They didn't take diamonds for it. Diamond is nothing but coal, right? And so learn the lesson of coal. Diamonds is coal that have been pressed together and they withstood the pressure, right? Any code that don't withstand the pressure just fall apart and it's no good and to be used and burned for fuel, right? It's burned, it's gone away. But the code that sticks together with the pressure turns into a diamond. It turns into a rare gem because it withstood the pressure. It's one of the sharpest things too. Cut glass, this and that. So the lesson is not in wearing the diamond, but being the diamond, right? Understand that we all face pressure sometimes. We all gonna go through some things sometimes. But because we know the lesson of the diamond, we don't fall apart. Right.
And just like you're saying, I always say, people want to. A lot of things I say go to worshiping the creation over the creator. Like
right.
You should be worshiping the one who made these things. And again, just like he made the diamond, he made you. You are the diamond, right? You can shine just as bright, right? But again, let's not ignore the fact that the diamond wasn't just a diamond, that I had to go through those things, right?
Right.
So as we do also spiritually, physically, and mentally go through these things, and sometimes have to go under pressure and be refined and go through a fire to be made into the diamond.
That's right.
Right.
And the scriptures speak of it all the time, right? It talks about gold and refining the gold, how it has heat has to be applied to it so that all the dross, all the waste comes out of it, rise to the top. You skim that off. They keep doing it until they can see their face in the thing. And now they know it's pure. Now they know it's gold. Another thing, as you said, applying to life, right? And so people see, and here's another thing. Okay, all the things, the majority of things that we find, gold, diamond, silver, pearls, right? You never just walk down the street and, oh, it was a big old gold nugget sitting on top. No, you have to dig for it. And why am I saying that? Because there are diamonds and pearls within the word. There's diamonds and pearls. You get gems of knowledge from studying, from learning, and from the things that we're doing, right? It doesn't come to you just by going to somebody's church and sitting around, watch somebody's show, doing nothing. It comes from studying, right? It says in the Bible, 2 Timothy 2:15, study show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needed not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. It's talking about the importance of studying, because if you study, then you get to know God, and you're seeking to know God, right? I refer to myself as a truth seeker. They say, well, what are you? You're spiritual, you're Christian, you're Baptist, you're this, you're that, Jew. I said, I'm a truth seeker, right? Because to me, that supersedes everything. However you choose to seek the truth and hopefully do the truth, but I'm a firm believer you seek, you'll find your way. God will lead you, God will guide you, right? But again, so too, we talk about the value study. You look at gold, sit on the ground, you got to mine it, right? You look at silver, you got to mine it. You look at nickel, you got to mine it. You look at copper, you got to mine it, right? You look at pearls, you got to go in the ocean. It's in the mouth of the shell, right?
So what's the key thing with all those though, right? It's the time, right?
Right.
The spiritual, what we're going to, we don't take the time even and don't see how valuable our time is. Even like you were just saying, even with people who are different perspectives than you don't value the time in talking to them.
Right.
You know, we don't see eye to eye on everything,
Right.
but we still value the conversation because
Yes.
we still find the gems that we each give each other. You know,
And you're still gonna learn, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of I can have a conversation and not learn. Just like I said, no two people are gonna agree on anything,
Yeah.
right? But the beauty is in the conversation, right? Having the willingness and the openness to have conversation in seek of truth. And I'm a firm believer still that we'll both find the truth in our own way, right? If it's this or that or going thing, but our mind have been open to see things, and then also, so now that's a part of critical thinking, right? You can't blindly. Oh, here's one that kills me. People say this all the time. You know, I come to God, blah blah blah. Or they say something, and I say, well, why? Why is that? Or what is it? Oh, you can't question God. You just got to take it and believe it. Well, why can't you question God? Oh, you ain't supposed to question God. Where does it say that at? Who said that? Because when I look and I read, plenty of people in the Bible question God, including Jesus, right? God don't mind being questioned because God has answers. Yeah. Only someone that don't have the answers or the answer is not true don't want to be questioned. I had people tell me, "Oh no, I had to check with my preacher before I do that." What? Why? Because that's my preacher. He's a man of God. He said before me, so I don't do nothing without running past pastor. Ooh, sounds brainwashed to me. Okay, I'm good. Or I don't know. I don't need your pastor proof. If I want to prove, I go to God. Yeah. Right? And I'm not saying nothing wrong with the pastors. I don't know, but the mindset. Because too many people have that mindset when they go to church, when they go to the temple, when they go to Juma, wherever they go, they just listen, but they never look for themselves. I've heard so many things in church, and I could bring church up, but I am because I'm a Bible scholar, been to church multiple years, been through the studies, right? And things. And so I know the word, and then I hear someone in the pulpit preaching something that is not true. And I look around at the people, yeah, that's right, amen, amen, preach. Preach. Okay, no. And because they don't know the words there. Yeah. They got their Bible, but they don't never open it.
And again, that's where it's not wrong where we as the people to call them out on it.
Right.
You know? Like,
exactly.
That's, again, out of any relationship you have with anybody and anything, the best people or relationship you have are the people who call you out on your stuff. Yeah. Like, lovingly, though. Yes. You know, not like degrading you and say, right. Oh, you just do this, you just do that, but saying, hey, I think you could do better, and you know, this is what I see is are a little not as well in these areas or whatever, right. You know. And nobody
trying to uphold a standard.
Yeah.
Trying to say, hey, you're better than this. Yeah. Right? And there's something wrong if you don't want someone to tell you that. Not that being derogatory, okay, right? Even sometimes someone can be derogatory. Because I like to, at the end of my day, sit back and reflect on my day, the conversations I had, right? My behaviors, my actions, right? Did I say something wrong, or maybe said something and then didn't put it in the correct way, or you know, put it in a way that was so vague, maybe they might have misinterpreted what I said, right? It could be I didn't mean that at the moment, right? But as I'm reflecting on it, I can see how it could be taken differently than I meant it, right? And or if I did something wrong, we all human, we make mistakes, we just did that. But then having the ability to acknowledge that within myself and try to make it right the next day. Go say, yo, I know yesterday I said this and that. I didn't mean it might have came out like this and that. I wasn't trying to say this and that, right? And there's no, and I enjoy doing it. That's a way of self-check, right? Which comes from God, right? Saying, hey, look at these things, this and that, bring this to your memory. You have now the choice to make the correction. Let it go. It wasn't, if you do that, then that means you're not valuing spiritual currency,
Mm-hmm.
right? You look at the way we treat people. Going again to what is spiritual currency, right? The way we talk, things we do, right? Even the things we let slide, right? I do some things sometimes, it's gonna let slide, right? Which is hard for me to do because every time I'm doing that, especially someone say something crazy, I'm trying to mind my business, you know what I mean? And then they say something, and then I can see that, oh, you gonna let that slide? You didn't hear that? You didn't hear that?
Yeah.
You didn't hear it? Oh, okay. Oh, that's what we're doing? Okay, God, all right, man. And then try to seek a way to do it. And there are times just to be quiet, right? I went to, well, I don't know, maybe it's not right. Maybe you can help me. I went to church or something with a young lady said, oh, I want you to come to my church. What is this? Okay, all right, sure, cool. Just go on visiting. And there's some things going on I'm not in agreement with, right? Some things being said that are not true in the Bible. The preacher being going on, but there's no just taking a verse out and running with it. I mean, the whole thing with it, right? There is no confirmation. When we get to numbers, we'll talk about that. God confirms His word. So every step over here, like I said, you got to look at other verses that say stuff. What does it say in relationship to the subject matter, right? So, and then, oh, how did you like the church? How did you like it? It was all right. It was all right. You didn't think, oh, the preacher was on fire. This and that. You think you might want to join? I just was coming, right?
So do you think you might want to check a couple things?
Right. See, I'm trying not to do that. But am I right? Because okay, you're joining, this is your church. I see that. I don't want to impede or seem like a hater or be negative on your spiritual experience, lesson, right? But am I wrong? Should I say something?
But on both ends again, so why are you asking? Because most of the times they do have that. So what would you like about it? Is there anything we could do better? Is there anything we could do better? And then so if you were to give a response like that, why get turned off again by it? And
yeah,
again,
but they hardly ever ask, is there something we can improve upon or whatever? Is most of the time like it's kind of co-signing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like that they're not really asking; they're just saying it was all good, right?
Right. Yeah.
But again, going back to a lot of one of the biggest currency is the faith aspect. Not enough, but we need to tap more into our faith and let us be led by the Spirit.
True.
And like I just said, that's one of the biggest forms of currency in the Spirit. Is your faith. Even still, like you just said, is even if it's your own beliefs, are you really standing on it? Are you really saying what you believe? Or are you just letting, yeah, okay, instead of telling people when you hear something? Because a lot of times for me, that's what I just say. If you feel like it's the truth, what's wrong with standing in the truth?
Right.
And then as a Christian, again, Jesus is the truth. And I would say I'm just standing with Jesus.
Right. And, but there's two sides to that, though, as to what you say, there's also the verse, and because these things are going through my head, where it said we should not have discord with the brethren.
Oh, yeah.
And we should not, like, argue. So now that one is important to me. I let things slide because of that, but I'm still standing in my faith, still standing in my beliefs, right? I'm like, okay, this is not, if we're being contentious, we're not going to learn anything. We're not, this is hard feelings, and for what? Oh, the word of God, that's not what God wants.
Well, right? That's what it more or less means. With your faith, you shouldn't more or less be worried about being quote unquote challenged. You should be open to it. You should be able to have the conversation because you feel like you have your faith. And if somebody does something like open you up to something, what's wrong with that?
Right.
Or again, vice versa, you could open up the other person to something.
Right.
But if you don't have the time to have the conversation and the discourse to have those conversations, then we're never gonna get nowhere.
Right. And if something is against you, against your belief, or whatever, then whatever they're saying should really strengthen your faith.
Right.
Right. So, no. Okay. Yeah. Now I see. This is why I'm over here. This is why my beliefs are such. But let's go back to the faith, because as we talk about spiritual currency, like I said, that is one of it, is not the greatest. As Paul said, faith, love, and charity. And Monday is the greatest is love. It's hard to have real love. And faith comes from love, right? From God love for us, right? and then we have to return that. Love is nothing but a return.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I don't think enough of us tap into our second greatest spiritual currency, which is faith. I don't know why. Because we in a disbelieving world. And well, I know part of the reason why, because there's so many things to look at and do, and the ways that they tell you, people tell you, oh, your faith, you got to go out here and do that, do that. You don't have to test your faith. You just have to stand in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then your faith is going to lead you to places, right? Where I said, oh, we live by faith and not by sight,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the things that we see can deceive us. Things that are around us can deceive us. Lessons that we are receiving can deceive us,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if we led by faith, faith is going to lead us to the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Going to lead us right, and then the test is whether it's our faith or not is love.
Mm-hmm.
Is love a part of the equation? Is love right? The
Mm-hmm.
answer, which should be love, is the question and the answer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so if that's not part of those are ways. There are things that we have in order to judge what we're doing or how we're going. You know what I mean?
And with on the receiving end, that's where we have to do better, because to see, are they having are they coming with love, like you just said, or are they say like are they saying things again just to bring you down, drag you, degrade your name, or are we being uplifting?
Right,
Even
right.
in faith,
Yes.
that's what I'm saying. You don't have to, just because you disagree with someone, oh well, you're going to hell.
Right. Yeah,
You can have the conversations and all that without degrading somebody. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. But even on the receiving end, I'm sorry, is you don't have to be so offensive on the other hand. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? To just be open to it, because like you're saying, if you have the faith in it, then you're not gonna. Oh, that's what. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. But those are the most times that you do find your faith, or when they are challenged.
Yes.
And again, if nobody can ever say that their faith has never been challenged. That we've all had our faith challenged at one point in our life. Either early or even 20, 50, 30, 40. Everybody.
Multiple times,
Yeah.
couple times,
Yeah.
right? And then when it's true, you return to it,
Mhm.
right? It's true, become someone older. But also, like they say, no test, no testimony,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So you can't sit and say you are a witness to the goodness of God if you never seen the goodness of God.
Mhm.
The goodness of God comes forth, the grace is shown in the times when you may be spiritually deficit, right? Your spirit may be a little low, you may be waning, right? But the grace of God sustains you, right? Through those rough times, through those tough times. And now, because you've experienced that, you come back and you have a testimony. Oh, I can witness to what God did. Let me tell you what happened in my life, right? Let me tell you what God was there for me. Were we deserving of that? Right? Were we spiritually wealthy? More likely the time than not in my life, I wasn't, right? But God blessed me and sustained me anyway for knowing that I'm going to get there, right? Because there's faith. What the Bible says, all you need is faith of a mustard seed. I do the rest, right? Believe in that, stand on that, work on that. Again, there's work involved. People, want to skip past that. And these are some of the greatest tools we have.
And I was going to say, that's one of the last things I would like to touch on as far as the currency is the grace. Yes. How much grace are we giving people? Again, we want to bless people. We want grace,
right?
But we don't want to give others grace.
Yes.
Again, going back to everything we were just talking about, we just was basically founded upon grace. It's too greedy and instead of loving.
I work with that sometimes as a human being myself, and I think we all do. As saying, okay, when, not when, should I would, and grace comes in many ways. Sometimes grace is saying no, right? If you know that saying yes is not good for the person, it's not going to benefit them. I tell people all the time in the drug and alcohol field, listen, you can love someone to death, right? You're enabling them in their spiritual deficiency, right? Which is just going to go lower and they're going to die at the end. right? Because you wanted to love them, you wanted to. No, you weren't loving them, right? You just love them by saying no, and here's why, right? As an alternative, it can help you. Probably not the way you want. There ain't gonna be no money. There ain't gonna be no luxury in which you're seeking, because then that's telling you that the negative energy you display is okay, right? And then I say, okay, well, should I be showing them more grace? As you just said, God is showing me grace. Should I? Where do we? How do we balance and weigh the lines of grace that we extend unto others?
That is a very tricky one. Like you said, a lot of times for me personally, again, that's where you tap into the other currencies. That's why you have to be familiar with them. That's where you go with faith. Then I let my faith lead me where my grace goes, because I let my spirit or the Holy Spirit, in my opinion, to tell me where to go.
I like that. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. I think we should wrap up on that, because tying the physical currency again, what you just said, the spiritual currency, they teach you in business and economics and finance that your portfolio should be varied.
Yep.
Right? You should have a diverse portfolio. Yep. So if this thing crashes and that, you have something to make it up on the other end. And how much truer is it with the spiritual currency? We need to have diverse portfolio of spiritual currency, right? We need to make sure that we working on increasing our faith, right? We do that through prayer, through meditation, through studying, right? We build up those accounts, you know what I mean? We make sure that we keep the balance right, our cup overflow, that we give unto others because we're working with grace, right? Yeah, and we work on things such as fasting, right? Time, attention, faith, and the more that we have, the more that we can utilize, so that we would never be spiritually bankrupt, right? God won't freeze our accounts, our spiritual assets, right? Because we're using them for the purpose of God. And we do that, we'll be all right, and we make spiritual currency. You think?
I think so.
Me too, man.
I appreciate this conversation.
Me
I think we got a lot out of it. I hope the viewers did also.
Yes, yes.
If you guys want anything for us to talk about, drop it down in the comments. I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe.
That's right. Drop it like it's hot.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time. Peace.